What we have come to enjoy as soul food is a direct reflection of our nation's dark history and links to the African slave trade. So let's dive into that. So in soul food cooking, there are 4 key ingredients that establish a historical link to America's dark slavery past. Bing, 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 bang. And we're going to get into all of them and how the enslaved carried with them their traditions and still use that in soul food cooking today. I got my rice, okra, greens, and pork. Them 4 staple items in that soul food. Okay, let me stop playing. But seriously though, believe it or not, rice, okra, and greens were native to Africa before they were in the Western Hemisphere and came here from the transatlantic slave trades. In fact, rice is one of those key ingredients that the slave traders brought with them on their transatlantic voyages during the transatlantic slave trade. And these slave owners intentionally brought it to provide that sustenance to the slaves during the long journey, because we not in jets, we not in cars, we not, you know what I mean? We on boats. But once in the Americas, the slaves then planted the rice for their own consumption and then had to adapt their African rice dishes to fit the limited ingredients that they had in America. Jollof rice, for example, is a classic staple in Nigeria and Ghana, but that morphed into what Black Americans now have come to enjoy as jambalaya. Crazy. Number 2, okra, which is another ingredient that came from Africa by way of the slave trade to the Americas. And okra is found in many African dishes, especially in the stews that they serve. I leave big cauldrons. And in the American South, okra is probably most well known as the key ingredient found in gumbo. In fact, okra is what helps thicken the gumbo that we eat. Yet this technique draws directly from Africa. And let me connect it for y'all. The word gumbo actually derives from the Bantu word for okra, which is kidu gumbo. And the Bantu people originated from Central Africa, near Nigeria and the Congo. During the slave trade, they brought with them their appreciation for okra, including it in stews that are still signature to soul food today. You see how your ancestors are speaking to you through you right now and what you eating? You gotta remember that history. Now, pork, while not native to Africa, has been the choice meat in the South for centuries. And that preferred method of preserving the meat in the past, to salt and smoke it, has been attributed to the slaves. During the Atlantic slave trade, it was the slaves who were frequently given that grueling task of preserving the meat. And as a result, many of the techniques in curing the meat are said to have been developed by African Americans of that era. Can we give it up one time for Black excellence, ingenuity, and resilience? Okay, I know I will. I'm proud of me. Okay, I'm proud of my ancestors, Africa. Okay. Now let's not get it twisted. The cheapest and least desired cuts of the pork, such as the head, ribs, feet, or internal organs that we now call chitlins, those were reserved for the slaves' weekly food rations. And as would be expected, the taste of these cuts of the meat were not the best. But guess what? Here comes Black ingenuity and excellence. So to mask the poor flavor of the meat, the enslaved people drew from their traditional African cooking and used a combination of seasonings on their meat. A mixture of hot red peppers and vinegar were very common, and this flavoring has served as the base of many different barbecue sauces that are still used in the South today, and the basis for why Black people use heavy seasoning on their meat. Okay? It's that history. Now, greens are one of the most recognizable aspects of soul food cuisine. Most Southern soul food dinners will include a big pot of stewed greens. Cooked low and slow, these greens are often flavored with a small piece of ham or bacon, some leg bones, whatever. Because in slave culture, these big pots of stewed greens drew a direct resemblance of the stews from West Africa. During the slavery era, greens were boiled in pork fat and seasoning with a combination of whatever vegetables were available to them at the time. And when the pot of greens was eaten, there would still be this flavorful broth called hot liver. And just like in Ghana and Nigeria, where fufu is a starchy mash used to sop up the broth at the bottom of the bowl of the stew, or in Ethiopia, Nigeria bread serves the same purpose. The slaves in America didn't have fufu or Nigeria. However, they did have cornbread. And this cornbread was crumbled into the bottom of the bowl to soak up the last bit of savory flavor, and is still what Africans and Black Americans do today. We soak up our cornbread with them greens. We put some cornbread in our milk, you know what I'm saying, and soak it up. I'm a country girl, I'm Black, and I understand. This is soul food history, but unfortunately, it's killing us at a crazy rate because it was never designed or given with health and nutrition in mind. So let's keep it real and let's set some souls free by elevating our awareness and our mentality.